Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video we're taking a look at a Pokemon that can deal some monstrous damage in the Sunshine Cup, and that is Shadow Exploud with BOOMBURST. These battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, NeoDoombot, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now it goes without saying, Shadow Exploud, not a Pokemon you should use if you care about your elo. However, if you're just looking to have some fun and deal some truly terrifying amounts of damage, then this may be the Pokemon for you. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and take a look at Shadow Exploud boom-bursting just about anything it can in the Sunshine Cup. Hopping into the first match, picking up a good lead, leading Flygon into Dunsparce. Opponent is going to save switch into Alolan Raticate, and Neo more than happy to stay in here and fire off a Dragon Claw. Dragon Claw is going to be shielded. Now he's going to send in Dunsparce. Dunsparce very good at absorbing energy from this Raticate to hopefully set up the Shadow Exploud to sweep. He mentioned in the notes that I believe Shadow Exploud, if it has a 1-0 shield advantage, only has two things that it can lose to in the meta, so the goal with this team was constantly trying to get that 1-0 shield scenario for Exploud, which obviously isn't realistic for every game, but whenever possible, he did try to make that happen. Down goes Raticate. Opponent going to bring in Steelix as their final Pokemon. Dunsparce getting to the last second Drill Run, but the opponent makes the switch out and a catch of the Drill Run onto their own Dunsparce. Their Dunsparce had switched out of this lead matchup versus the Flygon, and unfortunately for the opponent, they're stuck against Flygon once again. Dragon Claw is going to win the CMP tie over the Dunsparce. Dunsparce is going to be firing off the Drill Run. Drill Run will get the Flygon low. Flygon hoping for a farm down, but it's not to be. Flygon unable to pick up that knockout. Flygon going to shield, however. Can Flygon make it to a Scorching Sands? No, it cannot. Now this will test how well the opponent has been counting. Dragon Claw does get shielded, and now it's the 1-0 shield scenario that Shadow Exploud needs. Exploud, of course, does have Crunch, which can hit for neutral damage here, as Exploud does get debuffed by a Psychic Fangs, but I don't think he's planning on going for the Crunch. He's farming up, and he's going for the resisted Boom Burst. This is resisted damage onto the bulky Steelix. It still KOs. Oh my goodness. Down goes Steelix, and that's a good game. Hopping into the next match, Flygon versus a Pidgeot. And if you see Pidgeot nowadays, it is going to typically be running Gust. Gust, of course, the move to go for it now that Wing Attack has been nerfed. Pidgeot, they're almost always going to be going for Feather Dance here, so I do like to see the Nose Shield calling the bait, make them throw the big move, and that way you can punish if they do go for the bait. This is a debuffed Dragon Claw, actually a double debuffed Dragon Claw, so that's not going to do a lot. In comes the Dunsparce, and Dunsparce gets the farm down, denying Pidgeot's energy. Opponent going to send in Girafarig. Girafarig, a pretty cool pick, as this is the non-Shadow Girafarig. And so Girafarig will actually be able to take some hits, whereas the Shadow would get absolutely melted by just about anything. Trailblaze is going to connect. Dunsparce firing off the Drill Run. Is the opponent going to shield up the Girafarig? Yes, they are, but they cannot get the farm down. That Trailblaze boost not enough to let the Confusions KO, and now, oh my, we have Shadow Exploud versus Dunsparce. Shadow Exploud is going to be up 2 shields to 0. Astonish is double resisted. It's doing basically no damage. Dunsparce, an incredibly tanky mon. Let's see it. Shadow Exploud going for the Boom Burst. Nearly a one-hit KO. And Dunsparce gets astonished down. This may not be a good Pokemon, but man, does it look fun. We move to the next match, leading Flygon into Serperior. Serperior, oh my goodness, they try and go for the CMP tie, and in doing so, they give an entire free Dragon Tail to Flygon. Flygon gonna throw one and the move, very nice charge attack timing. Dragon Claw is gonna be shielded by the opponent. Flygon now getting a hit with another move from the Serperior. By my count, this should only be an Aerial Ace. Yeah, the opponent didn't build up. They are now gonna switch out and make a catch onto Licky Licky of that Dragon Claw. Flygon going to stay in this matchup, making it to a Dragon Claw as the opponent overfarms too much and they play to a CMP tie that they do not win. At this point, honestly, I think you're okay with just letting the Flygon go. Flygon has done its job. It did some nice damage to the Serperior, and on top of that, it basically got through 3/4 of the health bar on the Licky Licky. Licky Licky going to now be answered with the Dunsparce. Dunsparce getting so much damage. The rollout's going to be the best fast move pressure available, as of course Astonish would do less than nothing. Going for a Rock Slide, covering for a potential switch out and a catch onto Superior. Do we see the Superior? No. Opponent is going to bring in their own Dunsparce, and this endgame could get a little bit tricky, as the opponent's Dunsparce is going to be very effective at neutralizing his energy. He does win charge attack priority over the opponent though, firing off the Drill Run. That is going to be no shielded. This will not knock out the Dunsparce. Do you just save the shield for the Exploud and try and sweep? It looks like the answer is yes. In comes Shadow Exploud. Exploud is going to take quite a bit of damage from a Drill Run here, but that would be less damage than a potential Frenzy Plant. Exploud farming up, going for the crunch. We will see a switch out and a catch onto the Superior. The crunch went for an undercharge. It is still enough to KO. And this Dunsparce does have quite a bit of energy. I think at this point, barring a catch, the writing's on the wall in this one. Firing off the crunch, this will be able to grab the final shield from the opponent, and it's going to come down to a prediction. When will they throw? And unfortunately, the prediction is not in time. The Drill Run will KO, and the Dunsparce is just too low, so that will be a game win for the opponent. Hopping into the next match, Flygon versus Dunsparce. Good lead for the Flygon. This is where you want to see the Dunsparce. As Flygon, I mean, these rollouts just do absolutely nothing, even against a pretty glassy Pokemon like Flygon. Flygon using an early shield on a Drill Run, returning fire with a Dragon Claw bait, hoping to grab the shield back from the opponent. The opponent not going to fall for it. They are going to let that through. They now get to land a Drill Run. Drill Run, not going to knock out, but it will do quite a lot of damage to the Flygon. Opponent is going to save switch into Superior, and this save switch is going to prove to be a very tricky one for this team to deal with. Dragon Claw not going to be enough to threaten a shield. Opponent is going to be able to fire off the Aerial Ace right before the move is reached, and Aerial Ace will secure the knockout. This game feels like it's in a very precarious position. Considering the opponent has a low health Dunsparce, you almost kind of have to save your own Dunsparce to be able to try and farm them down later. In comes Shadow Exploud. This is going to be a Frenzy Plant. We will see the shield, and Exploud is going to get the full Astonish farm down. In comes the Dunsparce. We're going to see the switch out into his own Dunsparce. Opponent is going to get to connect with a Drill Run. Drill Run is going to do some pretty solid damage. Opponent staying in to connect with another Drill Run, and now his Dunsparce is going to be very low, but have so much energy in the back. That's about the perfect Pokemon you could see. It's Talonflame in the back. Dunsparce firing off the Rock Slide and grabbing the shield. Rock Slide number 2 is going to grab the final shield from the opponent. Opponent has to try and outpace the Dunsparce, but they're not going to get the opportunity. Aggressive combo play with the Shadow Boomburst. That's a one-hit KO. Down goes Talonflame, and Shadow Exploud is able to take the win. Hopping to the next match, we see, oh my goodness, a Shadow Girafarig on the lead for the opponent. Shadow Girafarig going to be getting absolutely melted by these Dragon Tails, my goodness. But to be fair, the Flygon is getting torn to shreds as well. Opponent going to switch out into a Talonflame, and this Talonflame is going to outpace and get a Brave Bird before the Rock Slide is reached. Gonna let it go. Opponent, oh, they're running Flame Charge. That is not the moveset you want to go for. Fly Brave Bird is going to be the preferred set typically on Talonflame, as the flexibility, just by very few things resisting Brave Bird, just allows Talonflame to win in situations it has no business winning in. In comes a Shadow Flygon. Shadow Flygon exits with energy. Oh, trying to go for the combo with the Dragon Claw, but it's caught onto the Girafarig. Girafarig then shields. Oh my goodness, I'm surprised the opponent did not commit to the Flygon as their win con. This Girafarig does have a lot of energy loaded, and they're going to be able to fire off back-to-back moves. We're going to see the shield from the Exploud. This will be another Psychic Fangs. In comes the Flygon. Look at the damage, but Exploud takes it, survives on 1 HP, making it to the crunch, knocking out the opponent, and taking the win. All right, we move into the next game here. Flygon versus Magcargo. Can't ask for much of a better lead than that. Opponent choosing to stay in, which is a bit of a surprise. Overheat, even though it's resisted, will still inflict a ton of damage. Overheat is an amazing move. They go for the Overheat. It gets no shield. An opponent brings in their own Flygon. The Dragon Tail did go through, so they can go for a 1 shield, and his Flygon will be KO'd. And now Neo going to send in the Dunsparce. He has the shield advantage that he so desperately wants for that Shadow Exploud, because without a shield advantage, Shadow Exploud would get absolutely cooked. Scorching Sands is going to land. That deals significant damage to the Dunsparce. Dunsparce firing off the Drill Run. Drill Run is going to get that Flygon low. Going to bank the Drill Run, send in Exploud, and the opponent tries to commit to a Scorching Sands. They get greedy, and they get farmed all the way down. In comes Macargo. Macargo farming up, but they lose charge attack priority to the Exploud, and Crunch will actually grab the final shield. Exploud has 2 shields remaining, but it kind of has to use it here. That will be the Rock Tomb opponent switching out into the Chestnut. Can the Boom Burst be reached? Yes, it can. Okay, this is a debuffed Boom Burst onto the Chestnut. It's still KO'd? There's no way. Oh my goodness. That was debuffed by a Rock Tomb, and it's still KO'd. This Pokemon... oh my goodness, this damage output is absolutely wild. All right, we move to the next match, the Battle of Ground Types. We have the non-Shadow Kanto Marowak versus the Flygon. Now, Marowak, of course, will always prefer to be Shadow. Unfortunately, the Shadow hasn't been available for quite some time, so people are kind of just using what they have. Bone Club shielded up by the Flygon. Marowak outpaces here, though. Marowak has 4-3 pacing because Mud Slap generates 10 energy for each Mud Slap, and Bone Club is 35 energy. We're now going to see, oh, the Bone Club barely not enough to KO. Dragon Claw forces the shield. You could honestly go for an incredibly aggressive farm down, and that's exactly what we're going to see. Shadow Exploud is going to get that aggressive farm down, exiting with energy. In comes Superior. Oh my goodness. Going for the Boom Burst. This could decide the match. Do they respect the damage? They do not. Goodbye, Superior. In comes the Clodsire. Clodsire is going to... oh, they could have thrown a move. They could have outpaced there, but instead they overfarm. A Crunch is reached, and it actually somehow ends up being a CMP tie. So the opponent must have got one turn bring in there, because Stone Edge should have been able to outpace. So the opponent... unfortunately did have some very rough luck there, but to be fair, Dunsparce still would have been winning in that endgame regardless, but you just hate to see when stuff like one-turn lag happens in a match. Picking up a great lead, Flygon leading into the Macargo opponent is going to save switch into the Quagsire, and there's not an amazing response to a Quagsire save switch on this team. Going to farm up a lot of energy. Unfortunately, that's where that 4 cycle, the 5-4 pacing on Aqua Tail comes in clutch for the opponent as they get to outpace and force the first shield of the match. Dragon Claw landing would set up a farm down for the Flygon opponent, is going to let that through, and Flygon is able to get a big farm down. In comes Abomasnow, and it snipes. Oh my goodness, that is so unfortunate, losing the energy. He's going to bring in Exploud. Exploud... I mean, if this is an energy ball, this is going to do so much damage, and it's just the weather ball. In comes Macargo. Macargo going to be hit with the Crunch. Does the opponent commit the shield here? They don't have to, but they do, and they get debuffed, and now in comes Dunsparce. Dunsparce with a call to make. Is it a Rock Tomb? Is it an Overheat? Calls the bait, and it is going to be the Rock Tomb. Dunsparce, perfect charge attack timing, firing off the debuff Drill Run at Macargo. Macargo is going to let it go, and it will get KO'd. Back in comes the Abomasnow. Abomasnow, I mean, even debuffed, Rock Slide is going to inflict some significant damage. Dunsparce, if the Abomasnow has 2, this could be trouble. We're going to see the shield on the Weather Ball, the switch out into the Exploud, and getting the catch. Getting the catch is the Exploud. Opponent goes for an undercharge, but it's not going to be enough. Dunsparce going to fire off this Rock Slide into the Abomasnow. That's going to be good night to the Snowman, and that's game over. We move to the next match, Flygon versus Flygon, opponent running the Shadow, and it's going to be a CMP tie, and Neo's Flygon, with the 13 attack stat, is going to emerge victorious. Honestly, you could just let this go and go for farm with the Exploud, potentially. He is going to let it go, and that's what he's going for. He's going for the farm with the Exploud. Exploud exiting with energy. In comes Diggersby. Diggersby, it's okay. You're double resisting the Astonishes. You don't have to respect this Boomburst. Oh my goodness. Diggersby actually holding on. That shows just how bulky Diggersby is, because we've seen some bulky mons like Superior get one shot, but the Diggersby withstood that damage. Scorching Sands lands, gets an attack drop. We will see the shield from the Dunsparce as it's Scorching Sands number 2 from the Diggersby. We see a double attack drop, so a bit of good luck for the opponent going their way. Drill Run into the Diggersby will be shielded. If they're shielding at this low of health, whatever they have in back is not going to be a fan of this Dunsparce. And we see a Noctowl. What is a Noctowl doing here? But with the quick switch out, able to outpace, get to the Boomburst. Let's see the damage, and it nearly one-hit KOs. Noctowl exiting on 1 HP. They're going to fire off their energy. Could be a Nightshade. We'll have to see how much damage this is. It's just going to be a Sky Attack. Sky Attack not going to cut it there. And this is going to be a win as Drill Run will KO that Diggersby, and that's game over. Hopping into the final match, what is this? This is a rollout Kamala on the lead. I do think this thing does actually have Play Rough, so I like this shield. Oh, there it is. I was going to say, my recollection is that it has Play Rough from when I tried it once. It is very frail, it has no bait move, and it is incredibly terrible. Opponent going to save switch into a Palisand. The opponent's honestly having more fun than just about anyone in this cup, except maybe Neo, because Neo, of course, does have the Shadow Exploud lurking in the back. Firing off the Shadow Ball, that's going to pick up the knockout. In comes Exploud. Exploud, I mean, Scorching Sands is going to do quite a lot of damage here. So does Exploud decide to give up the final shield? Yes, shielding up the Scorching Sands and getting that Astonish farm down. Exiting with energy, it's going to be the Golurk in the back. Opponent tries for the catch. They are unsuccessful, and Golurk now has enough energy for a Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch should not KO here. We're going to see a switch out into the Dunsparce just to force the opponent's energy. Dynamic Punch honestly might KO. Shadow Golurk's attack stat is sick. Dynamic Punch does KO, but there's the crunch right on cue. Unfortunately, no Boomburst in the final match, as there's a lot of ghost types in the back. But what a spicy, spicy team from the opponent. Oh my goodness. All in all, these were some incredible battles, so thank you for sending them in. I was unprepared time and time again for just how much damage Shadow Boomburst would do. Exploud, even with Astonish, now being a Ghost-type clone of Mudslap, so an incredibly, incredibly strong move. It's still a Pokemon that is not recommended if you're looking to gain elo. Like, this is a Pokemon if you're just looking to have fun, and then you say, you know what? I don't really mind if I lose some elo. I'm just looking to have some fun, land some nuke moves. There are stronger Pokemon to use if you're looking to gain elo, like subbing in a Pokemon like Miltank, as I know Miltank is just incredibly neutral throughout this entire meta. But if you're looking to have fun, hard to argue against Shadow Boomburst, because that damage was absolutely absurd. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you as always to our members here on YouTube. The support guys provide is sincerely appreciated. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.